morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We will get started in just a couple of minutes as a couple more people join us. Good morning, everyone. I think we have a couple more people joining us, so we'll get started in just a couple of minutes, but thank you so much for being here. Right. Perfect. Again, thank you so much for joining us this morning for our tour, Symbolism and Space in Timken Paintings and Beyond. We're joined this morning by Paula and Jane, our docents. So again, thank you so much for putting this presentation on. A couple of housekeeping things before we get started. Right now, currently, you should be muted if you are joining us over Zoom. However, this morning, our docents do love audience participation. So if at any point they do ask for comments or questions or anything like that during the presentation, please feel free to unmute yourselves at that point and they'd be happy to receive any input that you may have. If you are joining us over Facebook Live, welcome to you as well. If you have any comments or questions during the presentation, please feel free to use the comment section on Facebook and we'd be happy to address those questions as well. And if you would like to hear on Zoom, also use the comment section or chat section rather. You can also do that as well in addition to unmuting yourself. Lastly, this presentation is being recorded, as I mentioned, and live streamed on Facebook. So if you would like to access this tour afterwards or any other tours that have been put on by the Timken, this will be up on our YouTube channel and our Facebook page if you would like to see those at the end as well. Perfect. Then without further ado, as I mentioned earlier, we're so excited to have Paula and Jane here with us presenting on Symbolism and Space in Timken Paintings and Beyond. So I'll go ahead and turn this over to them.
Thank you, Samantha. Today we're going to look at some absolutely wonderful art. In the past, we have talked about landscape painting in Timken paintings, and we talked about still lifes and portraits. Today, what I will be presenting will be mainly religious art, and from the kind of Byzantine period through to the early Renaissance. And as Samantha mentioned, I really welcome your comments and questions, and I will be asking you questions, and I hope that you will speak up because we'd like this to be a conversation. So let's get started. You see in this painting, what would be one thing that stands out to you when you first see it?
Gold.
Gold, absolutely. There's a gold background behind all of this. There is a reason for that because there is not an attempt here to show you naturalistic space. This is a Byzantine style art where the important thing is the devotional aspect and the religious aspect, not the life of man on earth, but the religious figures. What we see here is is Jesus in a mandorla in the circle. You notice what about the size of his feet?
Oh my God.
Large.
Outsized.
Yes. Now I have to tell you that this mosaic, and this is a mosaic, is in the baptistry in Florence across the piazza from the cathedral, and the baptistry dates from 1059, the mosaics from 1266. So the purpose is a religious purpose. because people, that's what people came to this place for. So I just have to tell you, this is a huge image. This is 25 feet tall. And it is an image of Jesus Pantocrator, who is almighty or all powerful. The reason the feet are as large as they are, I think maybe two reasons. One, because this is in a dome and they are closer down to the people. And this gives a sense of the way his figure goes. That is, what's closest to you should be the largest. Although they were not into perspective. We will talk about perspective as we get closer into the Renaissance. Also, the other reason is to show the stigmata. You notice the dots in the hands and in the feet, where Jesus was nailed to the cross. He's sitting on the circles of paradise here, and around in the mandorla. This is both religious and decorative. The little white dots in the mandorla are in fact reflective tesserae, which are mosaic squares that reflect light, so that when the faithful come into the baptistry, this not only tells them about the solemnity and the majesty of Jesus, but it also shows the glory by sparkling out at them. Let's move on.
Jane,
Yes.
wait a minute.
Yes.
Is this image on a wall or a ceiling?
This is on a domed ceiling.
Okay.
And it is mosaic. It is not painted. And I don't recall in fact, they may not know exactly who the mosaicist was who actually put the mosaic bits in. An artist designed it, and then the person who does mosaics executed it. So here's a wider picture of it.
I would wanted to add in for anybody that is not, into the history of the zone.
Yes, good.
Venice was a huge trading partner with the further on to Cyprus and to Constantinople and to that area of the world. They were master powers at that point, really a superpower, if you will, with their fleets and their trading. So it is very clear that they picked up a great deal of artistic info from the East as against the Western tradition. And so they are copying what is, the paramount in the Eastern side of the empire of the Roman times and Byzantine practices. I just wanted to add that in.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dee Dee. That's exactly right. Talking about the imagery here, in the first place, would you say that this is narrative art? Does this tell a story? What does anybody think? Look at the figures. I'll give you a little hint here. See, there are rows of figures. These three figures over here are Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, in case anybody was interested in that. And then there are the two angels blowing the trumpets for the dead to come out of their tombs, because out of their to be resurrected. Then next, let me show you. Okay, over here, this area over here, there's so many things I want to tell you about this. First place, Jesus is sitting in judgment here. In his right hand, you see the palm is turned up, and these people are going to go to heaven. On this hand, the hand is turned down, and this is the side where people will be going down to hell. So now let me show you. This is a picture of Lucifer, who is eating and excreting the human beings who have been damned to hell.
Is this part, oh, wait, is
Yeah.
this part of the Christ the Judge mosaic?
Yes, yes, and yes, in fact,
Go back maybe.
let me go back, yeah. It's over here. I don't know whether let me move
Oh.
these images up so that, yes, it's this, in fact, I don't want to mess things up. No, I can't. Okay, anyway, that's where it
Okay.
comes from.
Okay.
All right, let's
Wow.
Further to that, if anybody's interested, 25th chapter of Matthew, Jesus speaks in parables about the sheep and the goats, and those who give even a cup of water will be, as it were, saved, and those who ignore their fellow man and mistreat them and so forth, they go in a sense, they're irredeemable, and therefore they're pictured there on the to our right, as Jane is pointing out.
Yeah, yes, and we can't identify, although, it's interesting. I don't know who these figures are.
I would say they are probably the, let's see, I mean, from this distance, you've either got on the left side where your little marker is, no, it's mine.
I'm sorry.
To the left is a series of people on the second tier, could be apostles, and on the other, you see they have halos, they're holy people.
Yes,
The
okay.
lowest tier is hell, and they have halos, and it could be prophets and kings of the Old Testament or vice versa.
I think they're over here.
Yeah, okay.
As I've read, these are, as I said, Abraham,
Those are-
Isaac, and
Yeah,
Jacob.
the fathers of the faith, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and then you get
Right.
probably the prophets, and then of course a tier of angels up here on the top part on the
Yes.
left, and more angels and good things on the right. And in the middle column there probably is the 12 apostles, Jesus'
Yes.
companions, and then a picture of hell because it's part of the composite nature of inducing people to do good.
Right. So it's not really telling a specific
No.
story.
Oh,
No, exactly. I mean,
They're lessons.
in fact, that's exactly right. So what the point I was making was that we are not seeing a story here. We are seeing figures which, for people who are knowledgeable, they will understand who these different saints and apostles and angels are. So let's keep going and we will see. Okay. Oh, all right. So this is a work in the Timken collection. It is Madonna and Child and two angels with 12 scenes of the Passion. So in the center image, and I think I've shown this picture to you before, but
we all know it.
yes, everyone knows this painting, this piece, because it's the oldest piece in the Timken collection. And there are two different dates for the piece itself. The center image was painted by the Magdalene Master around 1300. I've written down active between 1265 and 95, but we think that the whole piece was around 1300. So when you look at the figure of the Madonna, does she look lifelike to you? No.
No. No.
Describe her clothing.
Well, the color is the color of Mary that we always associate with Mary, the blue. But
Good.
the drapery effect is really not realistic at all.
Good. It's quite abstract, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, yeah.
And the two angels with their little bent heads.
Yeah.
They're sculptural.
So, pardon?
They're sculptural.
They are definitely sculptural. So, but then, so okay, this was painted by the Magdalene Master. Then on the 12 scenes of the Passion, we have an entirely or a slightly different kind of painting. Notice, let's see if I can enlarge. Nope, my screen isn't going to do it, sorry.
But there, no.
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 Okay. So you look at the way the figure is painted here of
Mhm.
Jesus. There's shading so that his body has a roundness to it. There is an attempt at perspective.
Yeah.
There's an attempt at perspective to lead your eye into it, so it is as though these three figures are in a natural space. This was the attempt. This was the beginning of the transition from a devotional sacred space into a more human-centered natural space. But okay, we'll go back. The important thing is a narrative. There's a story here. This is the story of the Passion. Each of the images tells you a part of the story. This is the Last Supper. Here is Judas betraying Jesus. The flagellation. And here's the mocking of Jesus carrying the cross. He's disrobing, taking him up onto the cross, and through the whole story. So this was done as a way to reinforce the story that people already knew, because they had been told the stories. People couldn't read generally. There was no reading, so they had to learn these stories, both hearing them, and now they're able to see the pictures of what the stories that have been told to them. So
I always like to look at the how the hands and the facial features are done. Mary's left hand is scary to me. I mean, it
like a
looks
spider
like
hand.
it really does. Just skeletal, you know,
Yes.
and her eyes. She looks really tired, which I guess she should be, but it looks like she's got circles under her eyes.
Absolutely. Yes. And these figures, there is an attempt to show them looking more human.
Mhm. Yeah, if you mind, Jane, I would put my 2 cents in on this one.
Go
I
ahead.
love this thing, and people pass it by and say the baby Jesus is ugly, but what they're not understanding is this, even these 20 years apart between the middle figure and the other 12 of the Passion narrative is such a change in painting style from strictly iconographic from Byzantine sources to the influence, let's say, of the Italian beginnings of Renaissance, Cimabue and Giotto. So if you look at them, there's passion, there's movement. Look at the third one down next to her elbow on the her right side, that pink robe when Jesus is being unwrapped. Look at the movement of that fabric. You see what I'm saying? So they had moved dramatically in a few short years from a very static representation to an effort of all sorts to bring out passion. And look at the whipping scene. Wow, nasty. Those guys are at it, and all of that. Yeah. So I just wanted to say that in those short distances between those two masters, look at the change in the style.
Absolutely remarkable. You're so right. It is. And I think we're so fortunate at the Timken to have this piece, because it shows the transition. I mean, it's so remarkable to be able to see it in one piece. And this is in the form of a docile, that is a horizontal image that is hung at the back of the altar, so that when the people are looking at the priest, they see this, and it is instructive. I mean, this is a didactic piece. In that piece. Okay,
Jane, one last question. Do we know?
Yeah.
Do we know whether the central image of Mary and Jesus was actually painted well before the side images?
Yes.
So there would be an actual development in the painting styles over time. This
Absolutely.
is reflecting over time. Okay.
Yeah, and you can tell it, as Dee Dee said, and I've been trying to say that the styles are just so different, and it is all one piece. This is not 2 or 4 or whatever separate pieces. This is all on one surface. So here, I'll show you another one by the same master of the Magdalene, which is somehow more of a developed image. This is the whole image here, and this is a blow up of the central image, where, again, talking about the fabric, notice the way the fabric is, there just is not an attempt to make it look real. It is abstracted.
Right.
Because that is not what's important.
Mm-hmm.
Notice the exaggeration of the eyes. They're large eyes, and as Louise pointed out, we sometimes call the spaghetti fingers. And so we have actually, it's beautiful painting. Look at the fabric here. Again, not meant to look realistic, but it's so cool to see the patterns in the mandorla and in the undergarment and then the robe.
Yeah, Jane, I have got to say, if we look at the crucifixion scene on this upper R right
Here.
yeah, now that is absolutely copied lock, stock, and barrel from Cimabue, who was his crucifixions were very, very important, notable, and remain so. And look at the torsion, if you will, in
Yes.
the body of Jesus. So before they were flat against the background, flat on the cross, flat, flat, flat. And now we've got a real body hanging there with this suspended feeling, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, this is just, he knew of the developments, but kept to the Byzantine iconographic.
Yeah, in fact, it's quite ironic that he is doing it this way, but as you say, he didn't want to stray too far from
Not
the
straight.
tradition.
Correct. Yeah.
And there is an attempt at a background here. It's not just all gold. I mean, there is architecture.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all of these pieces you could just spend a lot of time. Okay, now we're going to look at Giotto.
Oh,
And I have a few, but let's talk about the way there's been this dramatic change. In the first place, what is the background here?
Nature.
It's
blue.
natural. There are trees. What color is the background?
Blue.
Blue. We're talking about the sky here. So we're outdoors. We're not inside a church, at least in what we're looking at. Now look at the figures. Look at the faces of these figures and the gestures of the figures.
Much more realistic.
Much more realistic.
Filled out. The flesh.
Yes, the flesh.
Draped fabrics. Yeah.
The fabrics, absolutely. And the two seated figures with their backs to us. It has been suggested that this is a way to include the viewer who is looking in just as these are looking in. So we then can go into this image in a way that we couldn't have gone into the icon-like images. Those were just, they were surface. This now shows depth. Then I want to point out to you the way this diagonal line works, going right down to Mary and Jesus. And that directs your eye to what's important here.
Yeah.
And then the gestures, oh my goodness, look, and look at the way the hands are painted, different from the earlier hands that we've seen.
If I could interject again, the figure on the lower left of us, the white one with his back to us, just note that figure and the position. And we're going to see it again, I'm sure later you'll bring it up. But Giotto was such a master. He gets this blob of color, puts a few shadows on it, and the next thing you know, it's 3D.
Absolutely,
You know,
absolutely. And that was his intent.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, it's the same with most. I mean, some of them have more detail,
Yeah.
but you're right. This is, you could see it as an abstract shape, and yet you know it's a human being in there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right, let's look at a couple of more of Giotto. Oh my goodness, this is just such great stuff. I had so much fun going, on the internet, finding these wonderful images. This is the marriage of Mary and Joseph. And when you look here, again, I'm going to try to enlarge it. Oh yeah, good, it's working. It's like, first place is a dove here, and a white, looks like a lily to show Mary's purity. Then it looks like Joseph is putting a ring on her finger. I mean, this is the story. This is telling you the story of what's happening. Look at the faces of the people looking on.
The lily actually belongs to Joseph. That's his sign.
I didn't know that.
Yes. Mhm.
But then don't we also see the white lily for Mary at other
Yes.
times for
In this
purity?
case, what it's signifying is that he's the foster father of Jesus, that they did not have relations. Okay. So
okay.
he's lily pure, as it were.
Excellent. Do you know who this person is, Dee Dee?
It looks to me, I mean, the guy in the middle with the performing the ceremony with the red cape, that would probably be the equivalent of a rabbi. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
The guy with his hand raised is, I would have to assume, priestly looking. It looks like he's giving the sign of the cross there, the top part of the sign of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Right.
So I just think it's a Giotto-esque imagination retrojecting the blessing of the church onto this event, or of God. You see what I'm saying? It is
Yes.
a classic clerical figure. Let's put it that way.
Good. Okay. Here's a
Jane,
yes.
in the right, the one holding her hand on her belly is Elizabeth, who is
Yes.
the
Thank
mother
you,
of
Maureen.
John the Baptist, and she's
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. I had thought
but-
that.
But it is interesting that this is Mary really never marries according to the stories, Joseph, and so she was essentially married to Christ, and that's why you see her frequently with the ring. So this is I'd forgotten about this one, but
And here it is for you to see again.
Yeah, yeah. The next to Elizabeth with the pregnant tummy in the back row would be Zechariah, the father of John the Baptist.
Ah.
Okay, yeah.
Good.
And then
Oh.
of course there's always women around accompanying women, unmarried
Yes.
girls.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what about these figures over here? I don't know.
What is
What?
that? Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, witnesses to the marriage. The Gospel of Luke is pretty clear that they were married.
Ah, good. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's move over. There's so many good ones to look at here. Okay, we have here the birth of Jesus, and here's Joseph asleep, like he's done all the work, but not really. And here are the shepherds, and here are their sheep. The angels are so wonderful. They're little beings that
Yeah.
they
look playful.
they look playful and human,
Mhm.
except that they only have part bodies.
Of course, they have wings too and halos. So,
But that's minor.
But it's a
And then
beautiful picture of the Madonna and baby. Golly, that is gorgeous.
It is just gorgeous.
Look at
I
that.
wonder if I can. Yeah.
it looks like they are on a raised platform underneath that overhanging
Stable thing.
table.
On the
Yeah.
stable, but it looks
But
like
it's like
rock.
it's elevated.
Yeah, it does. It looks like a rock formation to me because
Yeah.
I mean, when you look
Stable,
over,
but it could have been a cave, and they dug things out to store wheat, hay and whatnot.
Yeah.
and so I think it's stable is our word, but
yes, it could be. I mean, out of his imagination. all of this, folks, is out of their minds. I mean, who was there to witness this? I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
artists painted according to what had been done before or how they imagined it themselves.
Yeah, notice the sheep are looking at Jesus and the goat is looking away.
Oh,
Very good.
good. Okay, let's keep going. I think I have 2 more images. Yes. Okay, here's the Adoration of the Magi.
Is this also Giotto?
This is Giotto, yes. We shouldn't spend too much time, but it's just, they're so irresistible. Look at the way this figure is looking up,
The camel.
keeping control of the camel.
Yeah.
Jane,
Yes,
in the previous one
yes,
where Mary is in the bed,
yes.
so that strikes me as super interesting. That is, she's actually prone in bed.
Yes.
It's a little bit scandal.
Absolutely
It's
not.
unusual.
It's
Yeah,
so
no, no.
it's so earthy,
Yeah,
you know, that she would be like, wow, in a bed with those donkeys.
well, the
Interesting also that the Christ child is a little bit away from her. Most of the images that I've ever seen, the Christ child is on Mary's lap, in her arms, so on.
Yes.
But this is within arm's length distance, but kind of separated, which is interesting.
Yeah, and it makes a really nice little connection here between the 2 of them. They're actually looking at each other. In so many of the paintings you see, they
Yes.
say, oh, Mary's looking at Jesus, but no, Mary is looking just to the side, or Mary's looking out at the viewer. No, here it really, you get a sense of their connection.
Yeah.
And then also the pictures of Jesus swaddled so tight that it looks like a little insect
Papoose.
larva.
It looks like a papoose.
A
Yeah, well,
papoose.
the scripture line is she swaddled him in swaddling clothes and laid him in a manger. Notice the manger just to where he's headed next to being handed down into the manger where the ox and the ass, who
Yeah.
are very
Yes.
big figures in the nativity story, are. But
And
yeah.
and that the ox and the ass are animals who kept him warm
Mhm.
because there wasn't central heating here. I mean, that's one reason they were in the stable. The animals were there and they provided warmth.
In the classic biblical text, does she give birth?
Yes, absolutely.
Actually, she delivered him.
Correct.
So that's actually really striking.
Well, it's the whole meaning of the incarnation, that Jesus is, is Emmanuel, God with us. He is born as a human, and it's titanically important in theology. Let's put it that way. It is huge, this business of the incarnation. Okay,
Yeah.
Incarnation means to bring on the flesh.
Yeah.
Yes, good. To move on from that to the Kiss of Judas, this painting reminds me of the artist Uccello, who did a series of paintings with raised stakes like this. But there are the Roman soldiers, and anyway, notice the faces again. Let me see if I can enlarge this. The painting of the faces is so each one unique. They're not standard
Yeah.
issue
Yeah.
faces. And the fabrics, actually, you'll notice too that a lot of the clothing has a Roman toga-esque look. We'll
Mhm.
see that as we go farther along, because there is that influence that keeps coming through. Also, notice the
Oh, the
shofar.
shofar.
Yes, the ram's horn that's being blown, because this is a momentous time.
And is that figure whose back is to us in the gray? Does
Sorry.
that, no. Wait a minute.
This one?
Yes.
I can tell you that.
Does
This,
that
Oh,
serve
yes.
the same purpose artistically as bringing the viewer
Yes,
And-
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
definitely. And yes, Dee Dee, did you need to say
Yeah, I'm
something?
just going to say this scene is, of course, critical. The scene in
Yes.
the Garden of Gethsemane, the temple guards arrive to arrest Jesus on the say-so of Judas, who is going to betray him with a kiss. Famous, famous, famous.
And then over here, I
Then
think
Peter,
Saint
that's
Peter, who with a
Yeah.
knife.
a sword actually, he reaches out and cuts off the ear of the servant of the temple guard, who is this poorly dressed person whose robes do not reach to the ground. You know,
This
clearly-
guy?
No, the guy in blue or
Oh,
gray.
this one.
Yeah.
Great.
And so
Oh.
Jesus says, enough of that, and touches his ear and heals it. Put away your sword. Put away your sword, he tells Peter.
Wow.
So this is a very, very famous scene, and Giotto has encapsulated everything in just a nutshell. It's
It's fabulous.
absolutely amazing.
Absolutely. Okay, let's keep moving.
Mhm.
Okay, much as I'd like to stay on Giotto the whole time, we're on to Simone Martini, the Sienese school of the international Gothic art. And again, what do you see as a background here?
Gold.
Gold again. But is this the same as that early Jesus? No, this is not. Look at the faces here. Let me enlarge this so you can see more carefully. There is a much more of an attempt to be realistic, to be naturalistic. Again, here, aren't these lilies, Dee Dee?
Yes, they
And
are.
don't those signify Mary's purity?
Correct. Yes, that
Okay.
would be the symbol. And notice the angel's robe.
Oh,
He
yes.
startled her. He's
What?
in it, and the robes are fluttering behind him, haven't even stopped fluttering yet. And so she's drawing him back in surprise and shock, and and the gospel text is quite clear. How is this to be? I don't know, man. She's perplexed. Her first reaction is not one of, hey, this is good news, but it's a very important scene, and the delicacy of this rendering by Simone Martini is ultra famous. I mean, when you go to the Uffizi, that's the one that gets every crowd in the room. Let's put it that way.
Oh, it's so fabulous. It's
Right.
true.
We're lucky to have Sienese paintings in the Timken. This is not one of them, but
No, and I'll show them. They're coming up.
I was just going to say, look at the eyes. That's how you can tell the difference. The eyes.
Exactly. It's the eyes. Florence, if you're still there, check out this angel. I think look, did you see this angel? There are the wings, but look
Right.
at this flapping robe here.
Wow.
Kneeling angel. But doesn't this look Asian? The when I
robe,
look at
yes.
this, doesn't the robe look like Asian painting?
Yeah, it's a
It
brocade.
does.
It's a brocade.
Sorry. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, can I just say something about the angel?
Yes.
I mean, me who loves an angel. First of all, it's interesting as compared to the angels that were over Mary lying in the manger there, or lying in that bed. So this angel is actually full-bodied.
All right. Wait a second. I'm sorry. This is. Yes, and I can't get this thing out of the way so I can.
No, just you could just leave this up.
My email. Are you seeing my?
No, I'm just seeing your picture.
Yeah, me too.
You're Simone Martini.
So my email is not showing.
No,
to
no, it's not.
you?
No email.
Do not see your email or your bank account.
That is very good. I can't.
Yeah, you're okay, Jane.
Yeah, no, it's good.
All right.
Trust us. Anyway, so the angel is full-bodied, actually has knees,
Yeah,
right? And looks really like a person with wings added.
yeah.
Yes,
and
definitely.
Right? And the points of the wings are repeated in this thing in the center. that
Yes,
looks
here.
like a lot of chickens or something.
I can't tell what that image is.
But that actually just reminds me of seraphim wings.
Yes. it
Which
is
are
human
shows
cherubim,
across
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So anyway, that Also, just in general, these figures are always shown accompanied, not always, or it's interesting who accompanies them. So maybe that's, I don't know who's across the top, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, or who that is. But you know, she's not alone. She's got an angel there. She's got and maybe it's Gabriel.
It says
It's
Saint
the
Margaret
archangel.
and Sanus.
And Sanus.
Saint Margaret's and okay, so this is Gabriel, right?
The
Yeah.
archangel. And I had a question,
Yeah.
Jane. I'm interrupting. I rarely do.
Go ahead.
When was the Annunciation? Before the actual marriage of Mary to Joseph?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Before she got married? I just wasn't sure historically.
Yeah. If
Okay.
you read Luke chapter 1 and 2, it's all in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jane, if you go back into presentation mode, I think right now you're
I'm
out of.
trying. I
Yeah.
can't. This
I see the picture. I see the picture just fine.
Yeah, if you go at the top
Right,
corner,
right.
you should be able to hit present. Yes, right there. Perfect.
So my email came in and I could not get rid of it, but I finally did. And here we are.
No, you're okay now. Yeah, you're perfect.
Okay.
Yes, it's perfect.
I
Okay.
just want to say that seraphim or cherubim, whatever it is up the top there that looks like chickens,
Yes. Yes.
comes from a description both in Isaiah and in Ezekiel that talks about those are the angels that stand in the presence of God. And so by having this seraphim or cherubim there, you have to assume that God the Father is present at the moment of this incarnation when they're asking, will you be the mother of the Messiah? See, so that's what's his face? Martini's representation of the presence of God the Father.
Can I just point? Is the angel asking or telling?
Asking, absolutely asking. And she has to, Mary says, I'm not sure about this. How can this be? And the angel says, you know, nothing is impossible with God. The power of the Holy Spirit will overshadow you. And therefore, the one to be born of you will be called the Son of the Most High. So there's all this language in Luke 1 and 2. And so Mary accents, and the most famous words out of her mouth in scripture are, be it done to me according to your word, meaning to the angel. I will accede, I will accept. And it's very important because there's no forcing people, you know? Okay.
Okay. We are, this is
Sorry.
taking
I
so
apologize.
long. But okay, this is another Simone Martini, which is so fabulous. I just have to show you the central image of the way he has painted the fabric here.
Oh,
I mean, it's just,
beautiful.
it's exquisite.
Uh-huh.
And again, the eyes that Dee Dee pointed out.
Yeah. But not the eyes of the Christ child. Those are really
Not
much
as
more
much.
realistic. They look like just a pudgy kid.
No, the Sienese school had long slitty, as it were, eyes. That
Yes.
is contrasted to the Florentine school. So
Yeah.
these long and thin is what I'm saying.
Long and thin, and his eyes are outlined. I mean, the eyes are not always outlined, but okay, let's keep moving because, okay, this is a more Sienese school, and these two paintings are in the Timken collection. I just wanted to show them to you. I've shown you the Madonna of Humility before, and the Madonna and Child. Again, they're beautiful, but we have to keep moving.
Yeah.
Oh, because here's Masaccio. This is 50, 60 years later. And this story, which I just discovered, is so interesting. This has three narratives going on in this painting. The tribute collector is here. Jesus is telling Peter to go and get a coin from the mouth of a fish. And that is Peter doing that. And then, so that's Jesus telling him, then he's doing it. And then here, Peter is giving the money to the tax collector, who you can identify by his short garment. And we are now in the center of one-point perspective with all of the lines going to Jesus, if you notice, from every direction, and his head is at the center of it, even from the architecture. Notice too, again, as I mentioned, the Roman or the Greek or Roman garments. The thought was that what the artist Masaccio was looking at was Greek sculpture, and what the sculpted figures were wearing were these kinds of garments. Okay, we have to keep moving. Here's Piero della Francesca. Again, I put this in to show you the one-point perspective. These are stories. These are still narratives. These are especially narratives with very naturalistic looking figures. And in fact, to my eye, they are quite stiff and sculptural looking rather than loose and natural. There's an attempt to make them look really natural, but they look more like sculpture statues.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, let's keep going. This one is in the Timken collection. I've shown it to you before, The Death of the Virgin by Petrus Christus. This is the image, but I want to show you how it is with the two side wings that had been destroyed, but luckily they had photographs of them, so we can see them, although they're in black and white. But there are three narratives going on in this painting as well: the death of the Virgin, her ascension to heaven, and St. Thomas, I should say the angel dropping Mary's girdle to Thomas to prove that she really is dying. She's holding a candle that is still lit to show that her spirit is still alive. Okay. This is a Ghirlandaio, and this has a different kind of perspective that if I had time, I would ask you to tell me what you see, but I'm going to have to do it because we're rushing. The aerial perspective, or the perspective going back, not necessarily with perspective lines, but with color and size. The size of the castle is much smaller than the size of the figures in the front, and the light blue gray in the background makes that recede. And this is a story we all know, the adoration of the Magi. And here's an extreme example of one-point perspective with Jesus giving Peter the keys to the city. Is that right? Yes. And these are the Arch of Constantine in the background. This is some gorgeous painting, but again, sculpture, looking like statues, very, very human poses, but they're very posed. It looks very posed. It doesn't look like it's actually happening. When you look at these figures, these seem to have more action. This is the stoning, people throwing stones at Jesus. And the last one I'll show you was the Last Supper. This is obviously not a photograph of the painting, of the wall painting, because it's in very bad condition. But again, I wanted to show you the way the perspective works to direct all eyes to Jesus's face. And now I'm going to turn this over to Paula. Paula? Is Paula there?
Yes, hi.
Hi, yeah.
I don't know why I'm not showing up.
There, we can hear you now.
Okay, so over the centuries, artists have captured the rich symbolism of flowers, tracing the changing meaning of roses, irises, tulips, carnations, and more. Depending on the context, a single flower can represent reproduction or decay, purity, promiscuity, love, or hardship, or nothing more than a pile of petals. As we continue on our virtual tour of the Timken, we will find the beauty of flowers and plants portrayed in the collection of paintings in the Timken. as well as the symbolism and the plants and the flowers. And this painting of Madonna and Child with 12 scenes from the Passion you've seen before. The Virgin is holding a flower that has traditionally been identified as a rose, a flower that long associated with her, as she has been called the rose without thorns. I think the flower more closely resembles the passion flower that also has an important religious connotation. Next slide. The passion flower comes from the resemblance of the corona of the flower of the crown of the thorns and the other parts of the flower to the nails and the wounds of the crucifixion.
Wow.
The 5 sepals and the 5 petals believed to symbolize the 10 apostles. As Peter denied Christ and Judas betrayed him, they were not included. The passion flower is also associated with Saint Francis, who, according to Christian legend, saw the flower growing upon the cross in one of his visions. The next slide. Note that Saint Francis also appears on this altarpiece in the crucifixion panel from the scenes of the Passion. Next slide. Here we have the Madonna and Child by Niccolò de Bernicoso from 1387. Seated on the elaborately carved Gothic throne, the Madonna inclines her head toward the Christ child. She raises her hand to reach for the white rose, symbol of purity, that her son offers to her from the small basket on his lap. In that basket, we also see some strawberries. Does anybody have any idea what those strawberries might represent?
Fertility?
Well, could be, but the strawberries are symbolic of righteousness and suggest the goodness of Christ and the Virgin Mary. Next slide. Now we're looking at the Madonna of Humility with St. Catherine of Alexandria, St. Christopher, and the Annunciation and the Crucifixion, painted between 1370 and 1375. This is a triptych also painted by Niccolò Bernicoso. Palm fronds and olive branches have been 2 of the most important religious symbols. Both plants appear in the 14th century Niccolò Bernicoso triptych. Saints are often shown holding the classical palm of victory that became an important part of Christian iconography. The palm is the attribute of martyrs who carry it as a symbol of faith. St. Catherine stands behind the wheel, the emblem of her belief, for refusing to renounce her faith. For refusing to announce her faith, Emperor Maximum ordered that she be pulled apart by the spiked wheel. She is holding a palm to signify both her martyrdom and her ultimate victory over death. Christopher on the right is another saint associated with palm trees. He is shown in the right wing of the triptych. Known as the patron of travel, he is also shown carrying the Christ child across a river. As proof of his divinity, Christ told Christopher to plant the palm tree he used as his staff. The next day, the palm tree blossomed forth as a sign of faith. The angel Gabriel in the upper left is shown holding an olive branch and kneeling before the Madonna as a sign of the advent of Christ.
I want to enlarge that so we can see.
Okay.
Oh, wait, here we go. Yeah, it's
See it?
yeah, yeah, good.
Okay, the next slide.
Okay. I just want to say, you think that this is a globe? If it
Yes,
is.
absolutely, yes.
But isn't that an anachronism? Because
at that time they didn't believe the world was round.
Exactly.
Good observation. Yes.
I was thinking of that when I studied that painting.
I thought the globe was supposed to be a kid with a ball, and he takes him across the river. And as they cross the river, this child becomes enormously heavy, to the point that Christopher is staggering out of the water, can't believe it. And when the Christ child it turns out to be, of course, Christ, carrying the weight of the world.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, the next slide. The Adoration of the Magi was painted in the last quarter of the 15th century by an anonymous Flemish painter. This painting tells the story of the visit of the three kings or wise men to the infant Jesus. There are two fruits depicted in this painting that emphasize important parts of the story. Can anybody find them? There's one in the lower left.
Are these grapes?
I don't know, but over to the left a little bit, you might be able to depict those because of the little white flowers.
Yeah.
You see those? Okay. And the
Hard to tell
strawberry,
with the-
okay, there's a strawberry plant with the white leaves in the
Oh.
lower left-hand corner symbolizes righteousness and suggests the goodness of Christ. Now above Mary, pomegranates are mentioned. And if you go to the next slide, we can see that blown up.
Over here.
Yes, okay. So the pomegranates are a little hard to find because they are woven into the fabric, drapery fabric above and behind Mary. Pomegranates are mentioned several times in the Old Testament and have been cultivated throughout the Mediterranean world for centuries. In classical mythology, the pomegranate was an attribute of the Greek goddess Persephone and symbolized her return to earth each spring. It is this meaning that entered Christianity, the hope of mortality promised by the resurrection of Christ. Next slide.
Yes.
Here we have a Dutch painting, one half of a diptych, a lady receiving a letter painted by Gabriel Metsu in 1658. Writing letters became fashionable in Europe in the 17th century after the establishment of the postal system. A messenger is handing a love letter to a young woman sitting in an arcade in front of a classically styled Palladian villa that conveys elegance and wealth, as do the fresh flowers. Slide. The dramatic red bloom is a peony. These large, usually spring blooming flowers generally are shades of red, pink, and white.
Nice.
Native chiefly in Asia and Europe, peonies are considered among the most elegant flower. They are associated with prosperity and happy marriage, and they are an appropriate complement for a lovely young woman in love. The yellow flower is probably a primrose that symbolizes safety and protection. Primroses can drive off the evil spirits. The purple primrose symbolizes young love. I can't live without you. The dark purple is likely a gentian, a European flower, and it represents justice and victory. Next slide.
Yes.
In our French gallery, we have the portrait of Margaret de Sèvres, wife of Barthélemy Jean Claude Pupus, painted in 1729 by Nicolas de la Gelère. Know what flower she's wearing?
It's like a carnation.
Yeah, they're carnations. And here we have the red carnation that's the symbol of love and affection. However, she is also wearing a striped carnation that symbolizes that love cannot be shared. And if it's paired along with another solidly colored carnation, it strongly expresses the feeling of regret. Now, this is just my idea, but one might wonder if Marguerite de Sèvres is having second thoughts about her marriage, wearing the carnation combination that indicates regret. Her father, Pierre de Sèvres, was a Seine-Chaussée for Lyon, and his family filled this post for more than a century. Immediately after Marguerite's marriage, her husband was appointed president of the Cour des Monnaies and lieutenant general of Lyon. Both of these offices were judicial. Did she have need to wonder if her marriage was for love or the promise of attaining these judicial posts? So, ponder it.
I have something to say about
Okay.
the possibility of infidelity here, because we have the fan, as you know, we've discussed.
That's right.
And the fan is a signal to perhaps a lover saying we can meet tonight or we'll meet tomorrow, and then with the way the fan is pointing will tell where we're going to meet. So
Yeah, interesting. Okay, it also, the way she's holding it could also mean she's not interested.
That
So,
too.
so let's go to the next slide. Also in the French gallery is this large painting, Lovers in the Park, painted by Francois Boucher in 1758. Around 1750, the French beauty Madame de Pompadour ordered the building of hermitages, or rustic hideaways on the grounds of several of the French royal chateaux. Next slide. I love this drawing. It's not in color, but it certainly captures these secluded retreats were intended as escapes from the formality of the court and encouraged an interest in country life. Here, aristocrats dressed in elaborate versions of peasant clothing and strolled in fanciful gardens. In these secluded retreats, the severe planning of the classical French garden gave way to the new taste. And let's look at the next slide in contrast. Look at how perfectly laid out these were. And this is kind of how their lives were too. Everything was set, the way they dressed and the way they behaved. So you can see why that the left leads a lot more fun. So here the plants and vines are widely overgrowing what was suggestive of the classical past. As we walk around the informal garden, we see many flowers. Next slide.
Wait a minute, it doesn't want to, why is it not? Sorry, let me.
There we go. As we walk around the informal garden, we see many flowers and plants that symbolize values and hold spiritual meanings. Phlox represent harmony, partnership, unity, and compatibility. They are also considered a symbol of agreement. Primroses represent safety and protection. Primroses can drive off evil spirits. Wallflowers represent the shy who have little contact with others. Status represent represent memories and sympathy. Berry vines represent righteousness and spiritual merit in Christian art, and the trifoliate represents the Trinity in Christian art. The poplar tree is associated with victory, the tree of endurance and conquest. Forget-me-nots represent true love. The milkmaid or shepherdess has forget-me-nots in the upturned basket suspended at the ends of a pole where she's collecting flowers. More importantly, the gentleman is weaving forget-me-nots into the hair of his lover, but he is distracted by the shepherdess or milkmaid. What might this mean?
Look at the dog, that'll tell you what it means. It isn't faithful.
There's not really, even though the dog is supposed to represent fidelity, I think probably not. And the oak tree symbolizes strength, resistance, and knowledge associated with honor, nobility, and wisdom. The cypress tree in ancient Israel represented healing, uprightness, evergreen, eternal life. Cypress are long giving growing trees. And finally, roses. The red rose has been symbolic of love. It is the flower of Venus, goddess of love. Closest to the lovers in the park are the pink roses, which stand for femininity, elegance, and sweetness. The pale pink rose conveys gentleness, joy, and happiness. Pink, a token of admiration. This might infer that the couple's relationship is based more on joy, happiness, and admiration than love. I hope this tour has given you some insight into the symbolism of flowers and plants and paintings, and you will find the meanings as well as the beauty when you look at art both in the Timken and other museums. And thank you all.
Thank you so much, Paula and Jane. What a fantastic presentation this morning. Thank you so much again for putting this together. A virtual round of applause for the both.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you. Thank you. It was wonderful.
Thank you to everybody who participated with us.
Yes, yeah, what a fantastic presentation. We are a bit tight on time, but if anyone does have maybe one question, we can address that. If anyone wants to either chime in or add that to the chat. really quickly, we can do that. Otherwise, though, while you may be thinking of a question, I would like to remind everyone that this weekend is our Creation Station Family Mural Design. This is an in-person project in our front plaza at the Timken, and we will have 2 8-foot-long canvases installed Saturday and Sunday. So this is open for everyone to come and paint and display your artistic expression. So we'd love to see you there. These activities are free, and all art supplies will be provided by the Timken. So no experience is required and all ages are welcome. So please feel free to come join us. We'd love to see you there this weekend. But yeah, I don't think I see any other questions in the chat or, if anyone wanted to chime in. But again, thank you so much to Jane and Paula for putting together a fantastic presentation today.
Thanks.
Perfect. All right. Then if there's no other questions or comments, everyone have a fantastic day. Thank you again for coming and joining us, and we will see you again next time.